If you want to get better at using BigPicture and you want to learn how to work with it without major hiccups, you've come to the right video, because today I'm going to share with you 3 of our set of best practices that we usually share with our customers after the training and implementation when they go through with this using our services. I picked 3 and I focused on the ones where I don't have to say, well, if you're working agile, if you're working waterfall, if you're managing resources. I picked 3 universal ones. So we have tons of them for BigPicture. And if you're a smart user, you should be working according to all of them. But those 3 will definitely push your experience with BigPicture to the next level. And it will also allow you to be more efficient and bump into less troubles while working with the tool, which is super important. The first best practice I want to talk about is connected with dependencies. It's a big one of the most important ones. Actually, there will be one other that I think they're on an equal high standing in terms of priority of those. So the first one I want to share with you is about dependencies. Many companies are getting a little bit too excited when using dependencies while working with their projects. And that results with lots of dependencies being created where not all of them are necessarily needed in the project, right? So let's take a look at the structure that I have over here. I'll zoom out a bit and you will see that the number of dependencies that I have over here is not actually that big. So let's take a look at this one. This one shows you that there is a dependency from the parent task over here called small epic, and this is connected with another issue over here, which signifies basically that this small epic has to be completed before we can start working on this one. But this small epic, as you can see, it has several children. So what happens sometimes, and I'm not saying you're doing this, I'm just saying that some people do it, right? What happens sometimes is people might say, okay, let's create a dependency like that, because that of course is also dependent on the following item. And there we go. And that means that there is an additional dependency which sometimes doesn't actually bring any additional value, because we still understand that this parent is the last milestone that has to be completed until we can start working on this one. And of course, I could create another dependency between this milestone and this task that I've been connecting to, and the subtask and this task, and so on, right? You get the point. Too many dependencies make it harder to track, harder to follow, and also, even more importantly, sometimes harder to find where the problem is. So I could give you, I have one very drastic example. I don't want to waste your time, so I'm not going to get into this. Basically, the company has spent like 3 days updating their tasks because of something that happened, because of the number of dependencies that they had, which this is why we are talking about it, to avoid this. Another thing that immediately comes to my mind is just recently, I'm talking with the company and I'm always asking about the pain points that they have. And one of the pain points that they immediately sent to me was like, hey, we are doing some scheduling in our project plan and we are moving one item forward. 400 other items are moving forward as well, and we don't understand why this is happening. I'm not saying it's because of the dependency, but it's probably because of the dependencies. Okay, I'm a little bit joking over here. It doesn't have to be because of the dependencies. There are several other factors that contribute to this automatic rescheduling, but it could be because of the dependencies, right? So it's definitely one of the suspects. Therefore, avoid creating too many dependencies. Be clean, be surgical about this. Create just as many dependencies as is needed, and also train your team so that they also don't create too many dependencies and they understand the impact of the dependencies that are getting created. Okay, this is why the training is important, and this is why the first part of any implementation process that we go through is the training of the core team that will be working with BigPicture. All right, moving on. The second one, as I said, equally important in my opinion, is make sure that you're working with Jira data as much as possible. This is important because of several aspects, but the most crucial out of all of them is data safety. And being able to recreate the view when you lose it. What do I mean by this? Everything that you see over here currently is basically coming from Jira. If I would now uninstall BigPicture, I would actually still have the information in Jira about the start and end dates of my issues, about the issues themselves, of course, my epics, my tasks, user stories, subtasks, and everything else. I would have the information about the milestones in my Jira. I would have the information about the dependencies in my Jira. Everything is in Jira, right? So I kind of, even without this beautiful visibility layer, I can still recreate what's going on with my project if BigPicture is gone for whatever reason, right? It might, crash. There might be a critical bug in it. Your servers might get updated. Tons of things could happen. Most of the time they don't happen, but when they do, they are like an iceberg, right? It's a critical impact on on the availability of the tools that help you drive the business forward. So that's why it's so important, and it does not require a lot of work to make sure that the data is always connected to Jira. There are several places in BigPicture that allow you to control this. I will mention over here one that is very often overused. I wanted to say abused, but probably overused is a better word. And that's basic tasks. So many people are using basic tasks, and they don't understand the consequences of using those basic tasks. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that basic tasks are terribly bad. To be fair, you will find at least 2 videos in our channel, I believe, explaining what basic tasks are and how to use them and what are their applications in BigPicture. I have a pretty old one saying don't use basic tasks at all, they are crap. And that was true at that point in time. From that time to nowadays, several things have changed, and now basic tasks are a little bit better, and I can see some use cases where basic tasks are actually applicable. So that's why there is a second video of our channel on our channel explaining this. I encourage you to look at the recent one regarding the basic tasks and to understand where you can use them, but still also be aware of all the consequences connected with using those basic tasks. So that's why we cover the scenarios where they are applicable, but outside of those scenarios, I would always use standard Jira issues. All right. Third one, maybe not as important, but very helpful, and also applicable to everybody. So you will definitely find yourself using this best practice. And it's all about warnings. Use warnings that the tool allows you to display. Now, one that you will see immediately over here are these yellow borders surrounding my issues, right? This is the warning telling me that there is something wrong with the scheduling of those issues. And it's one of the most important ones if you're working with the Gantt, because this immediately tells you that in terms of scheduling, there is something going on over here that probably shouldn't be happening. And most of the time, it's connected with children going outside of the parent for some reason, sometimes due to dependencies, sometimes for other reasons, right? So I'm not going to go into all of the details regarding the possible fixes of this, but warnings are super helpful because at a glance, they allow you to see what's going on inside your project. I do expect that sometime in the future, in the info bar here on the right-hand side, we will find the tab that will also allow you to see all the warnings grouped into one single list, and you can go one by one through the warnings and fix them. So this will be definitely very helpful. I talked with BigPicture team. They told me that it's coming in the future. I don't know exactly when, but I'm super excited for it to get here eventually. The second area that has the warnings, which are very helpful, is the board module. So if you would be working with the board module, and probably not everybody will be, but if you're not working with the Gantt, you're probably working with the board. If you're not working with the board, you're probably working with the Gantt. So that's why I said that this is for everyone. Task warnings. If you turn the task warnings over here, you can immediately see that 3 of them get highlighted over here. And if I hover my mouse over here over the task warning, I can see what the warning is about. And I can, of course, go now and do something about it. So again, it helps you manage the backlog, manage the project plan, make sure that everything is as it should be. And it's not going to do everything for you, but as you can see, it has some buttons, has some links sometimes that help you fix the problem almost automatically. If you like, it requires manual action to say, hey, I want this problem to be fixed, but it's still better than fixing it yourself, right? So it has some shortcuts that allow you to fix those problems. And of course, it allows you to keep the backlog and the project plan cleaner. And this will result in better communication, better understandability of whatever you have scheduled in your project, portfolios, programs, whatever you're using, right? So that's all. That's all three that I wanted to mention in this video. As I said, there are many, many more that we share with our customers during the training, during the implementation process. We have a PDF that we also share with our customers later on so that they can go back to it and review the best practices, use it to train new hires, use it to refresh their knowledge from the training and implementation periods so that they are always up to date with what's going on and how to best use this tool. If you would like to go with us and talk about how we can help you train your team and help you go through the implementation process so that the configuration of the tool that you start working with corresponds to your requirements and helps you work with the tool to the most efficient degree, reach out to us. You will find the link in the description to the contact form. You can use our email address info@geniusgecko.com to reach out to me directly via this email. And I promise I read all the messages and I respond to all of them. And the meeting that we're going to have is free, and there are no strings attached to it. And I'm crazy about delivering value, so I'll make sure that you get something good out of this meeting, something valuable, something that you will be able to take and put into motion later on, even if this information is, look, this tool is not for you. You have to go with something else. That's also super valuable, isn't it? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you in one of the next videos.